Imagine standing face to face with the queen of the African wild, a lioness with nothing but instinct and fury in her eyes. You're on foot, no fence, no vehicle, just you, her, and her cubs. She charges, not once, but twice. You shoot, she leaps, she bites. She drags you like a rag doll across the Kruger dust, and somehow you live to tell the tale. This is not fiction. This is not a dramatization. This is the true story of a man who came toe-to-toe with the raw, unfiltered power of the wild and barely escaped with his life. Welcome to Savage Tales Animal Encounters, the channel where adrenaline meets the untamed. Here we share real-life accounts of wildlife encounters from around the globe. From heart-stopping predator attacks to unbelievable survival stories, we bring you face-to-face with the savage beauty and danger of nature's most powerful creatures. Every tale is true. Every detail is raw. These are not just stories, they're warnings, lessons, and above all, homages to the wild world we share. If this kind of jaw-dropping, spine-chilling wilderness storytelling grips you, then do us and yourself a favor. Hit that like button to support real stories told with the respect and weight they deserve. Smash that subscribe button to join our growing tribe of wildlife lovers, explorers, and thrill seekers. Got thoughts, chills, or your own close call with the wild? Drop a comment below. We read everyone, and your voice helps shape this community. Because on this channel, survival is the story. Enjoy the episode, but watch your back. Nature doesn't give warnings, it gives consequences. Savage Tales, Animal Encounters, where nature tells its side of the story. The morning of October 10th began like many others in the South African wilderness. The dry season had left the landscape parched and brittle, with the only signs of water found in the shrinking pools of the Nuasvitsontso River. It was day 2 of the Metsi Metsi Wilderness Trail, a guided walk deep into the heart of the Kruger National Park, where nature still reigns supreme and humans are nothing more than temporary guests. Rudi Lorist, an experienced trail guide with 7 years in the field, led the small group of hikers out of Metsi Metsi camp that morning. The plan was simple: track wildlife, observe the terrain, and loop back to their vehicle later in the day. But in the wilderness, plans can shift in the blink of an eye. The group headed south, moving carefully along the dried-up riverbed. The sun hadn't yet reached its peak, and the morning air still carried a cool edge. Game was plentiful. Impala, baboons, and zebra all lingered near the river's remaining waterholes. It was a promising day for wildlife sightings. By mid-morning, the group reached a quiet tributary, Matilweni Spruit. They paused briefly for some snacks and water, the kind of short break seasoned walkers know well. Spirits were high. Nothing seemed out of the ordinary. Then the vultures appeared. Circling in that slow, ominous spiral, several vultures descended toward a patch of brush nearby. Curiosity piqued. The group veered toward the site. They weren't expecting much. Scavengers don't always mean a fresh kill. But then Rudi's assistant, Philip Gumede, brought everything to a halt. There, just over 120 meters away, lay a lioness. Not moving, not running, just watching. It was unusual. Typically, lions on foot retreat quickly when encountering humans, but this one stayed, alert, calculating. Her body was low, tail twitching occasionally. Something wasn't right. They cautiously moved in closer, stopping at about 70 meters. Then they saw them. Cubs. Everything changed in an instant. The lioness was not just a predator at rest. She was a mother in protection mode. Her aggression now made sense. The growling, the tail flicking, the refusal to flee. It was a warning, a line in the sand, and they were towing it. Rudi, experienced and calm, instructed the group to quickly take their photos and prepare to move on. He had no intention of stressing the animal further, let alone putting her cubs in jeopardy. They continued walking, slowly, respectfully, parallel to the lioness's position. Not far ahead, they came across a footpath with a better vantage point. From this spot, the view was clearer, and the group paused briefly again, just long enough to admire the beauty of one of Africa's apex predators in her natural habitat. Despite the proximity, the lioness continued to hold her ground. No advance, no retreat. Just steady growls and that flicking tail, a visual drumbeat of discomfort. Rudi glanced to his right and noticed a rocky outcrop nearby. From a tactical standpoint, it was safer terrain. He motioned the group to follow him there, with the intent of circling back toward their vehicle. As far as he was concerned, the encounter was over, but the Lioness had other plans. The moment they began moving, the moment their backs shifted just slightly, something shifted in the air. Then came a sound that no bushwalker ever forgets. A low, guttural, accelerating grrrr, the unmistakable, blood-freezing sound of a lion's charge. The sound came first, a throaty, guttural grrrr, the kind that claws its way up your spine before your brain can register what's happening. Rudi's blood ran cold. The hairs on the back of his neck stood on end. He had heard that sound before, but never like this, not from behind. Not at close range, not with the unmistakable power and intent that only comes when a lion has made up its mind. He spun around, instinct leading the way, and for a second everything seemed to slow down. There she was, the lioness in full sprint. 15 meters away, her body low and coiled like a spring, muscles rippling beneath golden fur, ears flat against her skull. But it wasn't a mock charge this time, this was pure maternal fury. The cubs had scattered and she was going to eliminate the perceived threat at any cost. Rudi had a split second to react. He raised his rifle, fired a warning shot, a sharp crack that ripped through the air. But the lioness didn't flinch. She didn't slow, didn't veer, her eyes locked on him like crosshairs. The warning shot was meaningless. He fumbled to reload. The bolt slid forward with a harsh metallic click just as she closed the distance, 3 meters now. And then she leapt. Time fractured. Rudi threw himself to the left, barely dodging the full brunt of her impact. She grazed his leg as she soared past, crashing into the bush behind him with explosive force. For one brief, breathless moment, he thought it was over. It wasn't. She pivoted instantly, landing hard, claws digging into the dry soil. Like a storm circling back, she launched again, this time even closer. Rudi turned with her, brought up the rifle and fired at point-blank range, less than a meter between them. The bullet hit, but it didn't stop her. She stumbled, but recovered. And then she was on him. She hit him with the full force of her body, over 130 kilograms of muscle and rage, and brought him crashing to the earth. The rifle was torn from his grip and vanished into the dust. Now it was just teeth and claws and survival. She bit into his arm, then his side. The pressure was immense, like steel jaws compressing flesh and bone. Yet somehow, in the chaos, Rudi felt no pain. His mind slipped into an eerie clarity, and one horrifying thought echoed louder than the screams of his group. With the next bite, I'm going to die. He did the only thing left to do. He went limp, played dead. It worked for a moment. The lioness hesitated, jaws releasing slightly. Rudi summoned the strength to call out to Philip, his assistant, to shoot her, but no shot came. The lioness realized the trick. With renewed fury, she gripped him again, biting, clawing, trying to drag him into the bush. She was seconds away from pulling him into the undergrowth, a place no one would have followed in time. And then, just as suddenly as it began, the pressure lifted. She released him, stood over him for a beat that felt like eternity, then turned and ran. Bleeding, stunned, but still breathing, Rudi stood up. Covered in blood, adrenaline pumping, he staggered toward the group. They rushed to his side and guided him to shade. Among them was a doctor, Larissa de la Rey, who immediately began dressing the wounds with whatever they had in the first aid kit. Rudi's body bore the marks of the battle. Deep lacerations, crushed tissue, torn flesh. His arms, his side, his spirit shaken but alive. Their radio failed to connect to the main channel, just static on Channel 5. Desperately, they switched to Channel 2. Finally, Philip made contact with field rangers at Metsi. A message was relayed. Help was on the way. A flat tire on their vehicle made things worse. They knew that would be an issue before the walk even began. Eventually, Ken Maggs came through on Channel 2. What's the status? Rudi's voice, though calm, held a gravity few would forget. I've been mauled by a lion, and I'm badly injured. Ken didn't hesitate. We're sending the helicopter. They made it to the vehicle, just 300 meters more, and waited. The whir of rotors grew louder, a lifeline in the sky. The helicopter landed carrying pilot Charles Thompson, Dr. Peter Odendahl, and Mbongeni Thukela. Rudi was put on a drip, rebandaged, stabilized, then up they went. First to Skukuza, then on to Nelspruit Mediclinic. At the hospital, the battle wasn't over. He was rushed into surgery where doctors cleaned and debrided the wounds, cutting away the damaged and infected flesh. For a day and a half, the wounds were left open, just gauze and bandages covering his torn arms. Then another trip to the operating table. This time the pain was indescribable. But he lived. 5 days in hospital. Heavy antibiotics. Trauma, yes, but survival. On October 15th, he was discharged. Never once in my years on the trail did I truly believe a lion would attack. But that day, I was reminded. The wild is not a place of guarantees. It's not a zoo, it doesn't follow rules, and it doesn't owe you a warning. Rudi learned what every wilderness guide fears, but few ever experience. That nature, in all its beauty, can also be unforgiving. She treated me like a rag doll, 90 kilograms of man flung like driftwood. Her strength, her speed, her instinct, it humbled me. I will never look at lions the same way again, and neither will we. And that was the harrowing true story of a lioness, her cubs, and a man who came face to face with nature's raw power. A moment that started as curiosity turned into a battle for survival, and a lifelong lesson etched into scars and memory. We want to thank you for watching and taking this wild journey with us. If you were captivated by today's story, don't let it end here. Tap that like button. It helps us track the pulse of what tales you love most. Subscribe to the channel so you never miss another close encounter from the wilderness. Smash that notification bell so you're the first to know when a new story drops. Share this video with fellow nature lovers, thrill seekers, and anyone who needs a reminder of just how unpredictable wildlife can be. And most importantly, drop a comment below. We want to hear your thoughts. Have you ever experienced something wild out in nature? What would you have done in Rudi's boots? Your support helps us keep bringing these authentic, bone-chilling, jaw-dropping stories from the front lines of the animal kingdom straight to you. We post weekly wilderness tales, true encounters and lessons in humility from the creatures we share this planet with. So stay tuned, the next story might just top this one. Once again, thank you for being here. This is Savage Tales, Animal Encounters, where the wild speaks and we listen.